The hedgie's got a short position and they hate that bit in the worst kind of way. They won't pay, no way. Man, oh man, how they hate their shorts. Hey, it's good to see you, everybody. Oh, it's good to see you. Hello, John G. Hello, Crack Croc. Hello, DW, Space Monkey, et al. Hi, everybody. Hit the like button. This is a Chinese stock. No, it's not. This is AMC Entertainment. What am I saying? Ha! AMC Entertainment. Uh, this is a Chinese stock. This is AMC Entertainment. It's never quite hit 21 yet. Still got a question, you know, let's do it for fun in the chat. I'll just ask everybody, AMC 16, what's first for AMC? This is just for fun, everybody. 16 or 21, right? We're 4 cents away from 21. It's clearly like, you know, a big deal. $21 and all that sort of stuff, right? Anyway, moving on from that, I'm just going to skip the starting timer thing today, I think, right? Folks, if you're expecting that. Hi, everybody. Just going to skip that today. Get the show going instead. Get it nice and going. So, oh, I need to get my printer going. Don't nobody donate nothing this second. Hold off for 2 seconds if you're thinking of that. Okay, so that's on. Good one. Right. Okie dokie. Cheers, says Death of Banana Fridge. He's saying hello to everybody. There's John G saying it back. Cool. How about that? Magnus Spagmer. Now, there's a good name. Man, I don't know how you say your name, though. Magnus Spangmer. Spangmer. That's what I'm going with. Good to meet you, my friend. Hello. Hello. Hit like, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, good morning, that guy, Trace One, and everybody else. Another beautiful day. Another beautiful day indeed, that guy. Thanks so much for being here. Good morning, Paul B. Thanks for being here. Right, folks, we're back below $20 here in AMC. We rose all the way up towards 20.96, dropped back down. That's a stock that people like to trade. Here's other ones. Here's AHT, right? AHT, Ashford Hospitality Trust, 856 at the moment. Had one of these days. This is 4-hour time frame, so it's not so clear. That's the 1 hour time frame. Starting to get a clearer picture over there. If it just dropped down to the 5-minute time frame, you can see he's having one of these days, right? It's come down, it's filling this gap completely. It kind of needed to do it. Pre-market pricing had us actually push all the way down there. And then rose on up again. A bit of the old fudgery. F-U-C-K. Well, you tell her that. I love her. E-R-Y. Over here on this one, right? So we've had one of those days there so far. SPY over here. Let's look at SPY. Oh, hello. Where's a story? Here's a story. There's a story. I recognize this story. We just talked about this story just a second ago. It's had one of these echo. You're joking me. Yes, there is an echo. Oof, no echo, no more. Echo, no more. Yeah, cool. We're back. Echo's gone. Thanks for that, Jiu-Jitsu. Didn't notice I had one. And yeah, so look, Spy gone done the same ding, gone done it. Spy, darn, gone done it. Well, it needed to fill in this gap, and it did. Islands in the sky, nothing in between. Will we see this fill? Yes, indeed we will. Absolutely, sir. First thing in the morning, and then we'll just go on like nothing happened. Oh yeah. So what's happening over there in if Bitcoin dominates the all of the cryptocurrency market, why would you trade anything else? Stock. Here's Apple. If in that, and you've got this one, it's having done the same sort of thing as well. Well, look at that, all around the markets, everybody wanting a bit of the old fudgery. So we can assume that there's probably some sort of news out there in the world. Headlines: Wall Street loses ground after hot inflation data, and this is your stuff here, right? So inflation data. Inflation data is been what's led to this here. Bit of the old buysy sellsies in the market. Oh, I'm a bit chilly. Good morning, that guy. Good morning, Jiu-Jitsu's Ghost says that. the mighty Red. Good morning to yourself as well. Good morning, BMJ Shadow. How's everyone? Hey, good to see you, and good morning, Jen, as well. Aye, so the news today in Stocklandia is US stocks fell Thursday. With big tech leading the declines after stronger than expected consumer prices data raised fears in the Federal Reserve that the Federal Reserve will act aggressively to counter inflation. The Labour Department also showed consumer prices leapt 7.5% in January on a year-over-year basis, topping economists' estimates of 7.3%, leading to the biggest annual increase in inflation in 40 years. So this is the wave, the flow of the wave, folks, right? We've talked about this already, right? Spent all the last couple of years going, money printer go burr, stuff like that, right? And that's built up this force. And then we spent like some time over the last few months doing things like we're tapering off the repo stuff, and etc., and that's to try and then bring back on the what's been pushing that force. But the tidal wave that began of inflation has now, of course, swept over the actual economy, and we're seeing the effects of what started so long ago now actually be reflected because there's a chain. So that's happened, folks, and traders are betting the Fed will begin raising rates at its March meeting, with money markets pointing to 50% odds of a half a point increase next month from 30% before the release of the data. CPI came in a bit on the high side, and it doesn't suggest inflation is peaking anytime soon. It might mean the Fed could get more aggressive, said Peter Cardillo, chief market economist at Spartan Capital Securities. 8 of the 11 S&P 500 sectors declined in early morning, with technology stocks falling 1%. Mega cap growth such as AppleInc, Google owner Alphabet Inc., Microsoft Corp, and Amazon Inc. that tend to get hurt from higher rates fell between 0.7 and 1.2%. And then spent the day, of course, then rising up there afterwards. So there you go. There's that market fudgery that we were talking about. If you see K, will you tell her that I love her? Coming in from folks taking advantage of this news stuff. Well, the news cycle on that front has kind of in a sense just begun, really, because people kind of need to, you get this impression of yourself when you know these things for months and months and months and months and months that everybody must know them, because if I know them, sure, everybody must know them. But really now it's kind of like now the world's kind of starting to realize, that is a thing that's happening. So we'll continue on. I have a runny nose. Oh. By the way, if you do see Kay, do tell her that I love her. So let's take a look at stuff. Do not trust Snap. Oh, brilliant. Someone said Snap. I was hoping someone might say Snap at some point. Hello, Snap. Check out the Snap chart. It's been a while. I was hoping that somebody would say it. I like to bring up stuff from time to time. This is one of the ones that I was going to bring up, but I was waiting for somebody to say it. Well, somebody said it. Here's Snap. Snap, snap, dapples, the doop, doop, doo. And what was the phrase? Do not trust Snap. That was what it was that somebody said about it. Do not trust Snap. Kieran, yes, that's right. That's an interesting one. Well, look at this. Look at this. Look at the distance of this gap that's in here. Woof. Up there, 40% increase to the top side on that gap. Holy smoke-a-doodles, by the way, folks, right? Holy smoke-a-doodles. Are we not shocked by that? $58.75 is the target on it. Rocky, can you take a look at my favorite CLF? Earnings tomorrow. Check a look. Take a look at that for a chart, right? Anyway, I'll put it in this color so you can see here. So you can see it just a little bit kind of more colorful differentals, right? That's some chart. That's some chart. Earnings out here, and we can see that the earnings were a surprise of 110% better, and that the earnings were a surprise of 8% better. You know, and as the stock prices were dropping all the way down here, and as they went down to the $24, dropping down so much. And earnings were going to come out and surprise, $110, supplies. Technical analysis doesn't work on manipulated stocks, yo. The entire markets are manipulated, yo. The entire market's manipulated. We're constantly living in a world of manipulation. Get with the manipulation. Learn that the markets are full of manipulation constantly, and accept it. Look at this. Look at this. How wonderful is that? Anyhow, right. So good laugh there, Rocky. Can you take a look at my favorite CLF earnings tomorrow? Earnings tomorrow, CLF. Well, let's not get too carried away with what the earnings might or might not mean for the stock. Because when have we seen earnings in the last year, the run up to it included, right? Operate as expected. I mean, you could say, look at Snapchat. Their earnings did exactly what you'd expect to see earnings do, and yeah, cool, okay. And nobody at this big organization of Snapchat had any idea that they were in line. Nobody knew at all that they were online to get like nearly 10% more revenue than last year and make 110% more than the estimate was in terms of their earnings. Nobody had any feckin' idea about that in the run into it, of course, right? Hilarious, right? Hilarious stuff there. 50-50 on this AMC thing. Shock and horror, right? Shock horror. So you can see that's kind of like an options play of opinion over there that you've got, right? It's very cheap to buy into the opinion that it could go to $16 when the prices are up at $20.96, isn't it? But, you know, in the sense that you're almost certainly wrong, laddie-daddy-die, you know, from the point of view, if you just purely look at it in terms of how much prices would have to travel to get to that target. Then if you, so you think about it and you think, well, what's the risk and reward on guessing 16? What's the risk to reward on guessing 16? And what's the risk to reward on guessing 21? It's a good one. It's good, nice, fun poll up there. 50-50 on it. It's hilarious, right? It's hilarious. It's hilarious that that's the way it is. It's nice fun just to have fun here. What we're looking at here, Cleveland-Cliffs Inc. Cleveland-Cliffs. Cleveland-Cliffs. Hello, Cleveland. Cleveland-Cliffs. It's a non-energy minerals steel. I was looking at a documentary yesterday about Algeria. Totally fascinating. What an incredible country that Algeria is in terms of just its natural beauty and history. Wonderful stuff. They've got a steel factory built in 1955. Did it say 1955? Or was it 55 years ago? One of the two, something like that. Whatever. A long time ago, it's Soviet era stuff. That's what it was. So yeah, so let's just say 55 years ago, and it needs to be modernized, and that's like it's off the back of that they hope to turn around anyway the steel factory here, like the economy in that area. And you think to yourself, just like somehow, just some things in the world are just a bit odd, right? You know, like that 1950. You look at the factory and you're like, shit, that's old, and that Soviet era, and you see it's like a symbol of all that hope, but of that economy that just, you know, even to now, to this day in 2022, that they're thinking, hey, maybe this will be, you know, something that helps turn us around, but it's inefficient and it can't supply the needs of the country, yada yada. Interesting stuff. And it's kind of one of those things. It's like with helicopters, right? Helicopter. You know, all of the helicopters were invented back like in the Vietnam War, and you know the helicopter technology hasn't like massively moved on, you know, in that way. But it has moved on. But you know, just all of them are the old style. It's just some of these things are remarkable. And when you spend so much time looking at things like cryptocurrency, etc., and massive financial revolutions, that you get reminders at times that, you know, the world does take time to change, essentially. It's kind of what I'm getting at there. And that you can feel like you're living right on the edge of something that's bleeding edge. anyway, it's always then good to come back around when you're so interested in tech stocks and earnings of a company that's based off of an app that deletes photographs off your phone after they've been on it for 10 seconds or something like that. Look at that. Here's your earnings of that company. Back over here into the kind of the more traditional world that takes a bit longer to change in a sense of steel and all that. Poll idea: helicopters or aeroplanes? Right. So look at that. That's hilarious. I'll just end this poll in its funny current state of it being 52% on the side, leading towards $16 AMC price before 21. That's cool, isn't it? And we'll stick in this other poll whenever I get the option to like hit the button and that work for us to do helicopters or airplanes, right? Here's a poll: helicopters, airplanes. You can stick in. You can stick in your in your poll requests in the chat, by the way, if you want a poll. And I'm going to be doing the TA in this in a minute, Paul. Thanks for your patience. Get to the chopper. Are plain sailing all the way. Ask and you shall receive. I vote flying car, says Shadow Lepton. Always the contrarian. Always the contrarian. Right, cool, sweet. Over here. So this. Whoa, shit! Look, I've done TA on this in the past. Hello, my friend. Handy. Right. There we have it. In here, there's this thing called a brain, but while you think it might have memory attached to it because it is a brain and functions, that's a gross assumption on your part. There's no memory module in this one at all. Right, we're back in the game. What was that last thing I deleted? Looking at this and saying, okay, this is this. Oh, if we were to push up for like a triple E top type thing or something, or get something in there, I wonder. Right, so well that didn't work out. Instead, we pushed down into this zone. That was a big liquidity box area that we're talking about. The gap down here past the 618. That's a bit painful. Where did this come down to in the end then? Because where is this Fibonacci actually drawn in from? And we can see that the low on this Fibonacci, right? Let me just point this out here. So this is just I guess for a second here, Paul. This and for everybody else watching, this is a little lesson. And a nice little kind of bit of continued professional development, you know, in that sort of sense for myself always. Whenever you look at these things, just have a quick look here and we can see where this Fibonacci was drawn in from and what it was kind of telling us at the times and stuff like that, right? We had a low in here. We had a high in here. That's what this Fibonacci was. Is that right? Yep. And we can see if I just draw this in again, like so you can see the process, that as I draw this in, that there's these lines below the area that I started drawing it in at, in my head, on your screen. See up here how there's lines below it, and they're coming down. It's not just going up the way. This is the 1618 Fibonacci target, is it then? Of the move from up above, yes. So just that's that line. Okay. And that's where prices went to. And we so often look towards 1618 Fibonacci extensions between these areas. And that's a oh, my doorbell just went. So that's something for you to ponder for the next minute. Hi. And I'm back. Right. I tipped you on PayPal, Streamlabs. How come it doesn't show up on here? In the chat box. Oh, that's because they've got that separate system. But it's cool. I've got this here. Jonathan G, man. I've got your tip right here. It's coming up. Look, it printed out and everything. It's right here. Can you see the printer? Look, this is your one. Hot off the press. Hi. Trade spotting just arrived through my door. How cool is that? John G said, happy early Valentine's Day, Rocky. Love ya, mate. Bisexual pride. Hey, nice one. Can you do AREB, AREBTA, please. Right, cheers, man. Yeah, cool. Let's do a bit of the old AREB. Thanks so much, man. He came and he brought me flowers. Yeah, cool. Right. It's a bit freezing cold in here, so I'll turn the heating on. See that? See that? Somebody's arrived around, so now I can justify turning on the heating on. That's how Calvinist I am, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Parsimonious. Yep, that's it. Right, so CLF over here. Okay, cool. I used to make jokes about light bulbs or something with this one. We had a channel, it went up, it pushed down. This is what happened. The result of the downward move took us to the 1618 down Fibonacci retracement towards the downside. We can look at this a bit more detail if you want then to see where we've been since. In terms of this thing, so just to measure in terms of where we've come from, this is to looking at this high. Where is that in relation to where we've been? 618 golden pocket here. It makes perfect sense. You would think so, with it being the 1618 of this move, us coming back into that range. We're probably at the 618, you know. Anyway, and then in terms of like, this has obviously got this upside momentum. We're up 3% today, so we want to see that continue. But this is an area where we've got a big old horizontal that's on here already, so maybe, you know, profit taking coming in here for that reason. 24-hour time frame, daily time frame, you can see that we've got the 200 simple moving average right here as well. So, you know, again, profit taking coming in right here. This is coming in post death cross with this big movement that took us down to the 1618, and now we've come back up to retest this area. So this does kind of speaking to the trend in this region, and failure in here could make this have kind of elements of that Wyckoff type failure as well. So you could like actually start trending down the way even from here. Interesting one to think about, but it's steel, so we get to like look at its contemporaries out there. We'll take a quick jump over to look at X before we go anywhere else. There's a gap down here that's actually below the 236. Could undo that Fibonacci retracement towards the top side and validate it at that point. You no longer were looking for any of those upside targets if we were to take that out, so on and so forth. So any failure at this point, if you're thinking about, oh, would we get another 1618, etc., what sort of target could you look to? That would take you down to 1313, and there's another horizontal line just in there kicking around. So it makes me wonder where that's coming from. And that is the, yeah, so if we were to, so there we go. If we come back down past the 236 here, maybe you're going to think about like what, you know, whether or not we see any sort of bottoming for me in any sort of like recovery coming in at our support here, if this is going to act as support, because otherwise, you know, we're looking down towards the 236 in here, down towards $13. Thanks so much to Shadow of Leptin, by the way. I'm going to get around to your one in just a second. Hot off the press. But I'll just continue on for just this minute here. Thanks so much for that. That's quality. So, right, great, okay, previous upward trend, went to sideways, little bit of upward in there, dropped that down, spectacular fashion, come back up to recover, hitting off the 200 simple moving average on the daily. You know, the potential for this to turn around in terms of the 50 simple moving average, managing risk and thinking about this from here on out. Then at this point, if you're a bull, then what you're looking at is in here, this region where you can see that there's the 50 simple, and of course this area that we'd already identified as being a sort of the highway to the danger zone, or perhaps the killing floor, if you like, or the killing zone on this stock could be just in this region. So we've got that to think about. We've obviously bust up above that today, and you know, retraces off the 200, etc., could come back down then to that area. That would be support. And then if you're going to be, so that's the sort of the bullish side of things here. And if you're on the bearish side of things, then, you know, really kind of taking out the 200 simple is going to be a big thing. Looking for this to get a curve around in terms of its angle, and for these two, of course, to shrink down, for this distance between these two to amortize, and then, of course, crossover. And we'll be looking at that. And then, and on that front, when we know that that's the setup over there, just kind of bringing this back up here and looking at the at this major drop down in the you know, the huge momentum that took us down towards this area that didn't actually have that follow through thereafter from that point on. The momentum that's carried us up so far has obviously then been, you know, required more momentum to carry us up past that prior high. Thinking about then how, you know, how this, if this started to be a downward trend at this point, then what you're looking at any point given in here would be that you'd have hidden bearish divergence with failure at that area, and that would coincide nicely with the death cross on the trend of the 250, and then you'd be looking down for that test of that 236. But then, of course, as well, if this reverts back round again, then that's so significant there that we can look over onto a higher time frame thing like the weekly and say, well, if this was a high and a low and a high and a higher low, and we went on up and took out those prior highs, then this is just that would just function as hidden bullish divergence on that bigger front there. But we're you know, we've done so much of a pullback recently that weekly trend is definitely kind of going to have to be patient on any of that sort of front, so it's kind of gone for now. Very aware of the pivot points in here on the daily time frame. And then for your own sort of intraday trading aspects of things, just looking around, the current target towards the top side comes in here at 22.91, at 21.44 currently. This is this pivot area that would push us up towards that 200 simple on the daily, kind of in terms of like just coming up above it. Can we get follow through, etc., and ask those bigger questions? For now, it's bullish, and you can stay with the momentum as it stands, bearing in mind that we've got yeah, we've actually managed to push up here, back up again into this oversold territory. A little bit the old bearish divergence between these two last couple of highs. But, you know, we're also aware of this box as being a good buy entry. So you're still aiming around the sort of 20s and the 22s for that 10% range, which has an upside potential in it until later. Just quickly look at X. This is X, similar chart, doing similar stuff over here then for us. And here's the 24-hour time frame on it. Right, so this whole section here of price action, very kind of similar in terms of its movements. And then as well, we know that there's this drop down, which causes a lot of psychological pain, a movement back up here, which has a lot of psychological expectations and hope and recovery of it, which doesn't, if it doesn't get follow through, begins to look like Wyckoff distribution, at least in terms of its the psychological impact on people. So here's one of these pictures here. So like it's whatever. Any failure to recover back up above this area here is like you've had this movement down and then further on down. That's kind of the point there. Here's the bullish accumulation variety, where you get this spring. So you're talking about this, you're talking about that sort of a thing, and that sort of a thing happening in and around about these previous highs that push up the way and then coming back down, failure to recover it, you know, gets to be that negative thing. This is why then you'd look at it and just go like here from the lows to the high. Here's your low, here's your high. That's down there at March 20. This is up here recently. There's your 236, and you'd be looking down to, you could be looking down to $8 again on something that's $25 currently if that were to get super negative. I feel like that, I feel really, to be honest, that like when that actually I'm kind of more positive than that on this, and this is just this is things from the past being priced in now a little bit later with this hesitancy. So I'm still wondering. I'm positive on it's like little things like what they called Evergrande currently, and another thing, what they called agile property. Let's quick look. Agile property. Where are you? Here we are. Okay, so here's your Chinese property stuff, right? Obviously, they like a bit of the old steel as well. And we're asking I'm asking at the minute whether or not we see a push past the 50 that takes into for a big spring towards the top side, a big impulse move up the way here to try and recover what could be previously, from its high to its low. This is a Chinese stock traded on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Obviously, nobody's ever heard of this before. Doesn't really matter. People in Hong Kong have, okay, or whatever, I assume. I don't know. I'm not from Hong Kong. But it's got a stock, it's got a chart, right? And you can chart it. And I'm thinking about that because it's kind of ties in with Evergrande's story, the old quadruple threes here, as to whether or not we do see this get a turnaround. Now, this is obviously, it's just like saying at the minute, how do I feel about infrastructure, and how do I feel about building and stuff like that, when there is pullbacks happening in tech, and there are there's always housing demand and everything else and all the rest of it too, and there's this uncertainty that's coming in due to inflation at the minute and whatnot, and just kind of really overall the lack of support that's come from the U.S. government towards the construction industry, in my opinion, right? This is my opinion. I'm not trying to be an authority on that front. But if there's anybody that works in construction, you can let me know what you think of it as well. Over the last couple of years, really in the face of this global economic slowdown, and so much money has gone into supporting the likes of tech stocks, to support the overall economy, when really, we're talking about being able to look outside of our windows and see the world slowing down in front of us, and kind of wanting to combat that. And over the last couple of years, I just feel like it's been somewhat insubstantial, that sort of backing that's come from the Fed for the likes of X, etc. during those times. And then this is the global sort of retail, or the housing thing. Now, housing has had its bubble and stuff, but a lot of it's been priced in terms of the Chinese one, unless it absolutely completely collapses. Now, obviously, this is a big chunk away from being able to move, but it all comes back around again to steel, right? It comes back around again to steel. And looking just again to kind of put this into context, and I'll stick this up onto the weekly chart in terms of steel and whatnot, that we've seen on the here's like 16, here's 2018, on the way down 19, the words you're not supposed to say on YouTube, disease came in. There's the extreme low in March, and then the recovery, great, fantastic recovery. But as compared to the U.S. economy, it's still way lower than it was back in 2018, etc. And fundamentally, throughout this period of time, as a company, U.S. Steel has radically changed the way that it's operated as a business, and in terms of its investments, etc. So we're looking for this to actually have some sort of economic follow through, as well as just their core business part of selling steel to take off. Anyway, big stuff like that. All good stuff, right? So that's cool. Like, this is cool. It's good. Thanks so much to Paul B for your question about CLF, and then how that's kind of led to talking about a few different things, and talking about just a few different things in the economy at the minute, and that sort of thing. And I've also mentioned Ashford Hospitality Trust. That's a retail investment vehicle, a REIT, a REIT. And that's an investment trust on terms of a real estate, sorry, and yeah, so that's that donation that came in, and there was that one, and that was not it. There's another one that was funny. I've just put it down. Where is it? Here? Ah, right. Okay. Can you do AREB? AREB. Yeah, let's take a look at AREB, and then after that, we'll take a look at VLNS. So thanks so much, John G. Right, cool, excellent. I don't know if that was helpful or not. I think it might have been. It was pretty interesting. I think it's nice to look at stuff, and to be considering about the wider global economy, and as well to be thinking about steel and construction, and how the sentiment is regarding that globally, and how it has been over the last couple of years, and how it could change. They have not lifted tariffs on British steel going into the US, but they lifted Japanese ones already. That's interesting. They lifted them. Is that? She says that the American one says she'll get round to it with Britain, which is an F mañana. Yeah, so it speaks to this agreement. America has done some very hard business agreements with the UK. For instance, it managed to do a fantastic one recently with the beef, where it had a deal whereby if there was any CJD found in any British cattle, then they'd stop, importing them. So they were like, okay, well, let's put this back on the table. We'll start accepting UK British beef imports into America again, and give us some concession in some little trade agreement that we're going for here. Got the concession from UK, and then of course, within like 2-3 months, they found 3 cases of CJD in cows in England. Who knows if they were Novichoked and it was just for the point of the trade agreement, or if there is actually going to always be that CJD and it's just that real problem that needs to be fixed in UK farming, or what. Anyway, we all know that CJD is rife in the United States cattle farming, which is a real problem, but it's obviously covered up by the government. But let's not talk about it, because that's sounds like conspiracy theory stuff. Anyway, right, great. Okay, so AREB. This is AREB. What's AREB? AREB. What is it? And right, cool. Talking AREB. Look at that. American Rebel Holdings. Yeah? These Arabs are right infidels, are they? With these rebels. These rebel infidelity Arabs. Excellent stuff. Nice one. Good name for a company. American Rebel Holdings. What are they? That's American Rebel. Is that one with the... Is that that clothes brand? Is that clothes brand? What do they do? Commercial services, miscellaneous commercial services. But are the American Rebel, do they sell clothes in America? I think they might, and they might have like a logo that I thought was real naff. It's like, why would you want that? Remember walking down a street, am I thinking of a different brand? It's like in New York, you've got Bloomberg over there. Bloomberg? No, Bloomingdale's. And then at the corner on the next block up on the left, you've got American Rebel, right? You've got the Lucky Jeans, and whatever, Stream Street, whatever's that company, American Rebel, right? Crap. Right, so anyway, I don't even know. I'm not looking at fundamentals for a company. I'll do a T on it without it. This has been dropping down remarkably, though it's insane. So what did you say about it? Can you do AREB please? This is a good question. Can you do TA on this thing? Good question, man. Because look at that, and look at everything about it. What's going on here? Let's just have a quick look at the news and see what's going on. American Rebel prices public offering. This was a long time. This is back here, February 7th, 2022. What? American Rebel on Friday prices underwritten public offering about 2.5 million common units, 14.10. Each unit consists of one common share and one warrant to offer common share. Warrants priced at 15 per share and will expire 5 years from the date of issuance. 7th of February. What happened? Did nobody want it or what? The common shares warrants been approved to list in NASDAQ capital market. Begin trading this money under typical AREB and AREBW. Right. Man, this is like gonna have to. This is like complex. American Eagle, thanks Paul B. Yeah, American Rebel's a different company. Yeah, American Eagle. Yeah, they're the ones with the NAF brand. How's American Eagle stocks doing? Are they traded publicly? I'll just get back to this in a second. American Eagle Outfitters. Here we go. Nah, yous like it. Yous like it. I don't like it. I thought that looked pretty naff. Right. Okay. What can I say? Right. You just have to. You have to be. It's the brand is fine. Sorry, the brand image is fine. I quite like it. It's pretty cool actually. That Eagle and the American Eagle thing. It was more like how I was looking at their clothes and thought you'd have to be American to like this stuff, and whatnot. Perfect. Great. Fantastic. Actually, I take it all back. They're brilliant. If there was a company that sold Scotland t-shirts and were called Scotland Eagle Clothing and all the rest of it, would be my favorite clothing company by a million miles. So, yeah, this stocks of this thing should only ever go up. Probably until we've at least reached American saturation. Right. So anyway, this is a different company. AREB, man, it is hard to help you with this AREB thing, right? Because I don't really know in terms of like what they're offering out there to people. You know, in terms of it's a stock offering at a price. It's had a real dump down afterwards. All of the indicators are going to look like complete crap. This is the weekly time frame, of course. So the 24-hour time frame here, it shows you like, you know, we jumped a whole bunch down, right? So everything's obviously going to look like crap. And then go to something like the 4-hour time frame, and it's yeah, I mean, like, look at this. It's like it's screwed, right? This has been screwed in terms of any of this sort of stuff. So so you're stuck with very, very, very few options, like very, very few options in terms of like really, you know, what you can do. And at this point here, it's like, generally speaking, that Fibonacci results in it being like the best choices that you've got. But unfortunately, again, you can see super liquid at the top of it. It's like when you've got a monitor that's got broken pixels on it. This is what this chart looks like, dead pixels on a screen. It's like what happened to my MacBook, you know, with the Retina screen on it, and they hadn't really thought about that design. All these dead pixels, right? So we'll include it in the analysis, but it actually is literally finding where the top is. That isn't actually a dead pixel. That is the chart. Let's go for it. There's your upside one. It's insane. Not very helpful. I don't know, man. Just look at the company and figure out if it's worth anything. Sorry, man. I'm not going to tell anybody whether there's upside or downside price potential on this thing, which is done something for some reason with its public offering. For some reason, you know, there's something which is like some fundamental has changed. But it's like one of the only times when you look at fundamentals where you say fundamentally this thing seems to have changed. The market seem to be saying that something fundamentally has changed about it. I don't fundamentally know the answer to that, and we're going to just have to, like, I've got other things coming up, man. I hope for all the best, you know, in terms of that one. Maybe I'll come back and look at it at a time like outside of the live stream and take a look and try and see what I can figure out about it, because it is probably quite interesting. And yeah, cool. Political stock, if there's any of that in there, then you need to take that into account. And then of course the mood in the country, etc., and how that might be reflected. It's the sort of thing that, you know, matters with regards to things like DWAC with the Trump, etc., stuff like that, or indeed any sort of big issue in America, like any ATF issue, or, you know, anything over here like stuff to do with like green energy and stuff like that. These sorts of things are politicized as well. Paul B donated $15, an extra $5 for the Fab CLF TA, and a $10 for IDXX, please. Oh, awesome, cool, man. Well, we'll get around to that in a second after we take a look at this one at Shadow Leptin. By the way, mind having a look at VLNS, formerly VINCF, please. It's doing unexpectedly well the past few days. Thank you. Cool, awesome. Let's take a look there. VLNS. Am I already on it? I'm already on it. And oh yeah, sorry, man. Yeah, there's very little you can blah blah blah, is all the crap I was talking about before. So like if you had a Fibonacci from that high to that low, we're up above the 236, very good. Momentum seeking to carry this up towards the 382. Could be. If we take it off of the linear chart, of the logarithmic chart, sorry, and put it on linear just so you can see, because you know, it's sometimes good to do that. And this is one of these situations. We're a little bit away from where the 236 is, and this is where the you can see that this is where our last little inflection point was there, and it lines up nicely with support here, supports, all that good stuff. A little bit of resistance, you know, and that in the past. So here's a significant level for us. So we're kind of starting to pick this apart a wee bit, even though it's tough to go on. Let's pop it back on log again, hit the auto button, and see where that is. And you can see then that kind of resides somewhere between a couple of different Fibonacci points. The 382 is along the way towards that zone. And really, you know, what are we doing right now on this thing here, news-wise, as it happens? Cannabis Council of Canada. Oh, brilliant. Okay, it's not unexpectedly well, man. It's not unexpectedly well, not necessarily. There is cannabis happenings in the stock world right now. I didn't realize this was one of them, right? So we'll take a look to, just like how we did with CLF, right? We'll take a look at Tilray, Sundial, real quick as well, and we'll discuss the Sundial story for a couple of minutes during this as well, because there's some real interesting things happening with Sundial in terms of for I know that a large part of the audience are interested in kind of, you know, the dynamics of markets, how markets work, etc. And like, you know, when a company might get listed in the Russell 2000 and what would happen, and if a company is listed somewhere, what does that mean that it's listed somewhere? What is a share? You know, these sorts of questions are big parts of things that the audience like to talk about, right? And understand. And Sundial is got some big questions to answer with regards to its NASDAQ listing, right? Okay, cool. So we'll talk about that in as part of this story, right? So there's your VPVR back on again, right? This has got a target up above, a couple of different targets in terms of like there's resistance in there. There's a prior high. We can always rely on the simple adage of it is what it is until it is what it isn't. Adage is a word. It's an old English word. It means phrase. So in Macbeth, whenever the Lady Macbeth says to Mr. Macbeth that it's like the cat in the adage, she's talking about how the cat is afraid of water. It's not like some cage for keeping cats in or any of that sort of stuff. Understandable if you got that one confused in the past. Anyway, so the question at the minute is, you know, are we experiencing a breakout then with us pushing up past the 236 into this area in terms of and are we then seeing maybe a slight change in the dynamics of this? Could we start to trend towards the top side, even with regards to any potential pullbacks, etc.? Even if we pull back into this area, could this be the start of something, a little signal to us coming and saying something different is happening? And that's been characterized by Shadow-Leptin as uncharacteristic, or unexpectedly well right now. There's also this this question then, I suppose, if you were to be looking at this in a different sort of a way in terms of like just coming down this sort of a way, etc. That's just, you know, splitting hairs. Now, if we were to have a big pullback and come back in here, that would just look like kind of coming outside of that area. There's a few different ways you could look at this. On the way down, you had that channel. Then you could also be talking about trying to include this price action in here and looking for something along the lines there that would have worked out. None of that really giving you the satisfying amount of touches that you would need. Going back up and including this stuff up above, a bit generous on it really overall. And then suddenly you can see that something like this is maybe a little bit more, you know, appropriate. In which case, if that forms this into an overall descending, broadening wedge in this period of time, then where could our target be on it? And our target there would be up at the 886. The 886 Fibonacci retracement point up there in this region. So you'd be looking up to go up to here for your target of the of this over here to match up. So that's one of these things, and we've been and the likes of Sundialers and Tilrayers out there will have been looking for something to happen to try and give it some impetus to get the GTFO and start moving. Right, we've come all the way up towards the bullish control zone, however, and we've not pushed into it. Seeing things like the potential for us to have a pullback, retest, any of this sort of stuff at this time is true. It's fine. This is one of these momentum plays that could obviously kind of sting you a little bit. We'll jump down towards the 15-minute time frame and bring this up a bit. Nice flash up above, carrying us up to where we came here. Could have maybe filled it in there. That may be a debatable one. Ultimately coming in again there and doing it for sure. And then up here, and we've done it once or twice. This lines up with where around about the 236 is. We could come back down and test that again. It's to be aware of that. And let's just check down the way, see that there isn't anything vestigial down here kicking around that we need to deal with. All right, so there's questions that could be asked about pullbacks down to this region. I think that's satisfied, probably 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, that sort of thing. That's had enough there. And there's going to be gaps on this chart. It's low liquidity stuff. It's going to be gaps. We'll not put too much stock in any given gap, too much emphasis on any given gap. And yeah, so the momentum, right, we're due in this period of time here for us to to experience the pullback down to the 236 to form, you know, the basis of saying this is testing the demand. Makes a lot of sense. I'd rather get in at 250 than 291, and I would carry it up for the potential upside target of long term, taking off loads of profit along the way to pay myself and not suffer problems as a result or attrition on my account, etc. At 8.15, I'm not a financial advisor, wouldn't do any financial advice to anybody. Managing risk is certainly by that $2 area to think about seriously as to whether or not there's some other sort of persistent chronic issues, so to speak, in this market. So how are we going to put this into a bit of context? Let's have a quick look at Tilray, TLRY, Tilray Brands Inc. This is another weed stock, and we can see that this has had a nice bounce up the way too. Some sort of mad geometry in the past has occurred as a result of having had this wedge on the go, right? We've talked about this in the past. I say we, and who knows if there's anybody here right now watching. Thank you, by the way, to Luke Sotos. I'll be getting around to reading that after this one. Thank you, Samantha. Off the press. Cheers, buddy. We talked about this in the past about how there's how these things are true. Like, you know, there is a geometric element to this sort of chart in doodads, and that the word geometry really comes back in because you can visualize the ups and downs moves of money with including a time access into a visualization of a chart, and then you're able to draw shapes on it, and then you're able to say geometry. It's not really, you know, anything sort of like, it's not like horoscopes or anything stupid. Now, no offense. Sorry, I retract that. Anything which is not evidence-based. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, not, you know. I'm not a subscriber to the Church of Science. Screw those guys. Be free, everybody. That's the truth of it. Anyway, this thing here with its lines, right? You can see that the top lines come down there, and it's got the same sort of like interaction with where we are right now, as we're seeing on the other one. Now, Sundial. I just wanted to look at it just to see, you know, you're seeing that there's this moves across the market. Here's Sundial. Now, Sundial might be one of the ones which is kind of pushing this at the minute. There's a threat on board in terms of the pullback, and I think the story then in terms of the other chart is highlighted even more so when we notice that there is a gap on the Sundial chart just in there, as Jamie would like to say, a bad murder. And that might be something that needs to be investigated as part of the discovery as to whether or not demand and supply there really are towards the top side on this one. For now. Now, what's the price of this thing? 58 cents, okay? And what's the dynamic of this at the minute? Well, it's actually going through a merger. It's actually buying another company. It's an acquisition. I do believe that in terms of this acquisition merger chat, that it is that like what people here are very now familiar with, I guess, in terms of Naked and Sen merging, and Naked disappeared and Sen remained, etc. That what we're looking at here is that holders of the other company, whatever they're called, will be the ones that receive Sundial shares, and there'll be, maybe, I can't remember what it is now. Now look, right. There's plenty of people out there who spend all day, every day doing due diligence in terms of looking at the fundamentals and all that sort of stuff. And you can go and knock on their doors and ask them to do it, right? I'm trying to give you like a nice little sort of a little bit of icing off the top of the cake that you can kind of like look at, think about, and investigate deeper if you want to yourself. I literally am too busy to go and look into every single nuanced thing. It's nice that there's a little bit of a coincidence here, that at least it's something that I can talk about here. Right, but well, this tell you what, this craply positioned trend line didn't work for anything. Tell you what, that's I think that's clear as day to anybody that trend line did not work. Hilarious, badly positioned stuff. I hope I was just making a point at the time as opposed to actually saying that was reliable. Right, so this is a problem for this company because it has now then to secure source these shares to give to the other company as part of it. Now, it did a share buyback scheme buying $76 million of its own shares during a time when obviously they're tanking. Now, I'm not again 100% up to speed on whether that was completed, etc. or not. Now, they also could do a share issue and dilute the current shareholdings of these shareholdingers, us, the shareholdingers, and I can't see in the past there were there prior stock splits, etc. where if there were any, but that would be, that's one way to kind of do this to to get more, to dilute the shares, to get more shares to give to the other company, right? Now the dynamics are there. I'm not 100% sure how much they've got and how it was all go. I'm not, right? I'm not. But these are the dynamics that are at play at the minute anyway, and this is happening while if they were to release more shares, then it's like more supply is available, and if you were to do a reverse stock split, it's kind of negative as well, and they tend to get dumped onto. So there's a real kind of difficult situation for Sundial to be going through an acquisition at the time when its stock is below $1. Why is that, Rocky? Why is that such a problem? It's below $1. It's because NASDAQ have got a minimum price listing rule on their exchange, which is if you want to be listed on the NASDAQ, you need to be $1, right? And for months, this thing has been below $1. And even when it had its pump recently, it was up at 96. Recently, it was up at 96 cents. It didn't get above $1. Now, NASDAQ had said to Sundial, we'll give you 180 days to sort this out. And that ran out on February the 7th, right? February the 7th. Today's date being, just to double check so I don't make a mistake, yes, the 10th. It ran out on February the 7th. And down here on February the 7th, you can see this is when we just had a big, like a rise that came up to fill in this flash that was on the chart. So there's all this happening in this time. It's like, what the heck is going on? Because this is the only place this thing is listed. And it's in the United States. And it's a Canadian company that wants to be able to break into the United States weed market, going through an acquisition, I do believe, to try and enhance that position of the south of the border between the United States and Canada. Right? Incredibly interesting stuff. Well, if it were to do a reverse stock split and make it so that for every 2 or 3 shares of Sundial that you own now, you owned 1 later, that would push its price up to 150. You'd probably see a reactionary sell-off in it. And there's just really, effing with their position as they're trying to go through a merger. So there's massive questions here. And to say it's not entire, to say that the move elsewhere was unexpected is maybe slight bit of oversight with regards to how something's got to give, right? Something has got to give. Something has got to give here, right? And what we're looking at is a situation where something has got to give, which means to say that moves of any nature are not to be unexpected. Let's expect the unexpected with regards to these cannabis stocks at the minute. Interesting stuff happening in the world of cannabis stocks, and this is obviously going to bleed over into other ones that we've already looked at, such as VLNS. This is the Tilray stock here. I've not really done much technical analysis on this, but just before we kind of dash off from here and answer the other sort of super chats, are we looking at having broken past this sort of a trend line? Are we talking about having breakouts? Are we getting retests? Are we going to fill in that gap down below? Are we going to do all of that? Is that going to be the story? And are people going to be doing that in the face of this news that's happening and completely and absolutely shitting bricks and not knowing what's going on? And are we entering into the nice, lovely, perfect storm world of where you, as a prepared, cool, calm, level-headed trader, can absolutely start pinging out amazing trades all around you when the rest of the world loses their mind? That's what we could be looking at there, which is fun. Right, cool. So we had another request that came in, and I do believe I overlooked it here, and it was from Paul B asking for IDXX, and we will. But I also had a missive that's coming from Luke Sotos over here. Good morning, Rocky. Just a heads up, I'm signing up for the Rocky Outcrop Flash and Patreon today. Excellent, sweet. Give me your username. I'll add you to it. Follow instructions in your video. Thanks so much. By the way, do just send me a direct message on Patreon. That's the quickest, easiest way for me to get your thing. For anybody else who does that, also do as well. Thanks for all you bring. So thanks, man. And do join make sure you're a member of the Discord and all that. Link your Discord to your Patreon. Everybody should who's in Patreon. Thanks for all you bring. Love watching you and Jamie every day. Thanks for all you bring to the table. Could you look at CTAS on daily? Has October 26th divergence burnt out or went off or great question, man. Right, cool. Has the divergence burnt off? And take a look at it on the daily, right? And I'll take a look at IDXX. I'll try and get through this smoothly. Oh wait, did I actually finish off? Did I get anything satisfying? Yeah, I did. I was satisfied with what I spoke about here in terms of this one. Satisfied. I'm hinting at the idea of us being able to trend out the way and at least get into a position where speculation's towards the top side, right? earnings will be coming up soon enough as well, and I'm hoping that they're decent because of after like years of bad ones, decent ones last time, and so on and so forth, and general kind of overall within the company bullish belief within a really difficult external market, which is massively speculated on by the likes of Wall Street Bets. Right, so IDXX. What's this again? IDEXX Laboratories, right? So anything with the word laboratories in it means that you're going to see massive moves on a chart. Great way if you want to bring in, I'm just kidding, it's biotech type idea. Right, what is it? Health technology, medical, stuff like that. Right, great, cool. Probably would have mentioned this the last time we were here. Geez, oh, look at that bollocks on the chart there, that previous idea of a trade. I wonder when that came in. Wonder when that was drawn on the charts here. Was it here? Was it looking for a movement past that? How could that have been? Let's just have a look and see. What would I have been thinking at the time? Why would I have done that? Right, I don't know why this is here. I'm looking at it now thinking, how could that have been the case? Just bring this back. Well, whatever. It stopped out of it pretty damn quick, and the market's moved against it. Whenever I see this, and I'm like, there's a crap move to the middle to prior resistance. It's a crap move to prior resistance with obviously managing the risk really tight on it within the prior range. That's a crap trade anyway. So I was probably fairly negative on that in the face of what's probably down here and saying, look, that's probably where we're going. So what's happened now? Yeah, let's get rid of that. And well, we went there. So great, fantastic. That happened. The flash is better than, catching knives. Right, just generally speaking is. So that's happened now. There was a gap down below on this upswing, and then it got filled in. Great. Then we've swung up again another percent now, and we're asking questions about, do we actually have the beginnings of recovery here? Earnings on this massively surprising in the face of, and then all this negativity in the run down to it. Where else are we seeing that? Well, everywhere. And then and you'd hope so, right? Well, with inflation being 7.8%, come on, bring in the feckin' dollars, right? It's companies that have got crap earnings in the face of massive inflation that you really got to wonder, are they not desirable enough to be able to increase their pricing, to be able to actually keep up with these supply chain economics, or what? Because this is something which gets kicked down to customers. The shit rolls downhill, ladies and gentlemen, and customers are always the one that end up paying the burden of the inflation, etc. So if your company hasn't done that yet and is reporting poor earnings in the face of steady demand, etc., then they're exposing themselves, of course, to this stuff, and the other ones are front running it by charging more, making bigger earnings, doing all right. Stock price not really reflecting that, and they run into it, come back afterwards, everybody's happy, we're all making money, F the economy. So right, great, brilliant, back up above the 236. Managing risk on this here, let's just talk about it in a more sensible way than how it was before. You could think about things in terms of any moves like from this here as having been pretty nifty, but this is requiring this to have actually been the end of the depressingness of this one. It has only been touched like a couple of times. This coming back down towards this area to retest off of it is quite very possible. This wick up above is suggestive of speculative interest up towards these levels to take out that prior high, but it's also quite the sort of the work here is done element is true as well, because there was a gap there which was vestigial left on the charts. There was no other gaps from the highs, and that got filled in with that speculative interest. So I mean, then you could say that that's flattering to deceive, and actually that was just to fill in this gap. So in that sense, I'm would still remain patient on this. We'd be happier to buy in at 4.99 rather than 5.36. Yeah, cool, okay, we can look at it and say that there's upward moves, but let's just include that wick in here and say, well, in here coming up to do that and then pulling back down to fill in this other gap has resulted in that we're in a range, and that this means that that we as the small fish swimming next to the big fish need to wait until they've kind of shat or got off the pot here, as they're trapped between having put themselves in a position of mandatory indecision. What else? Right, like where else are we? What else we look at here? Hidden bullish divergence from a massive point of view time frame. If you're to include this here and say that somehow it didn't take out those lows and this is higher lows, that's incredibly hopeful. Instead, what you're seeing is huge momentum towards the downside. It's a shock move that can hurt a market. So you need to see decent, healthy, organic recovery. These Rick and Morty lips that we've got on the go here. How's it going? It's a positive cross. Yeah, so we're right tentatively there, able to recover in at this stage, and that's good. I didn't get in on this move personally. I would wait until 4.99 to try and buy in on it. I'm looking for targets perhaps towards looking for targets towards for things where there's confluence for a number of reasons, and just then where's some easy confluence when I stick on some moving averages here. Yep, 100% looking at that $600 area for that 200 simple moving average, the big node on the VPVR, and of course the golden pocket retrace. Three factors bringing my eyes to that attention to that zone. That, I mean, what can I say? That's got to be it, right? It's got to be it. And if it isn't it, well, then who cares? I'm not in it for stuff that isn't along those sorts of lines. Make it a 5-to-1. Make it even more, actually, to be honest with you, and we'll be happy with that one, or just go like total safe on it and say like take out that low and do it 2.8-to-1, whatever. Trading. Right, cool. Rocky Outcrop, kind of remember you're past the 1 hour mark. Thanks so much for giving me the heads up there. That's cool to know. So we've covered off that one. We've done IDXX as well. Was that what we were just talking about? Yeah, that's it. It's biotech as well. Got to be wonder what they're up to. It's all massively crazy speculation. Luke Sotos came in here with this one. CTAS daily, and there was October 26th for divergence. So CTAS. And we're looking on the daily, and we have got where's October 26th at? It's in around about around here. Oops. That's my chapter titles. Oh, thanks so much, by the way, to the Mighty Red. Unfortunately, if you use more than 15 hashtags, then it doesn't include any hashtags. But anyway, thanks, by the way. I copied and pasted that into a video yesterday. There, right. And this is where this was, and that's where that was. That's where that started at. Pulled down the way afterwards. Did a failure swing, classic. Moved down off the 50 simple moving average. Trended up higher for more divergence afterwards. Came down and effectively another failure swing. Pulled back down the way below the 200 simple. And yes, my friend, like, yes, right? This has conducted has done its job, and it's pushed the prices down into an area where for now a number of days, actually, over a month really, in terms of, I don't know, a month, we've been here for a month asking questions about the broader question of trend. So then looking back, the last time this happened was, of course, in the global pandemic crash. Right, so yes, my friend, in terms of like, have we done enough? There's loads of it on there. It's been really, beautiful, successful. It's worked very well, and it's brought the prices down to this area to give us a real sort of ask, the demand that we ask questions about this and ask serious questions about support has been put in there, which is good, right? Because we can take out the 200 simple, we can then, go aim for the 50 simple, and then start to trend up the way, having burnt out all of this previously, and be able to look up and not be making comparisons between any subsequent higher highs and higher lows with regards to this, as to whether or not it's divergent in the here and now. Having put in a low which is lower than this previous low along the way as well, it's disconcerting, very much so, in terms of the bullishness, as needs to be mentioned, but it also kind of negates that question somewhat in terms of if you're making that sort of analysis of going, I'm comparing two highs here, but if you're comparing two highs that had a lower low in between, then you're not comparing them within the one downward trend necessarily. So it's less distinct. More muddy waters are better for whenever you're looking at something that's negative. Muddy them up. Well, muddy them up away you go. Why did that not print? It printed. Excellent. So yeah, so that's a good one, right? So let's see. So your question was has October 26th divergence burnt off in your opinion? And yes, I would say yes. Now, but the result of it is that it's burnt off in such a way that it was able to successfully push it down into the bearish control zone. Failure at the median point is failure at the 200 simple moving average. The 50 simple is clearly sloping towards the downside. It'll only be another week or two before the 200 simple as well is sloping towards the downside. These things will converge, and then by March they'll cross negatively, and so on and so forth. So there's real, that's what's going on there. The dividend there was 95. Dividend there 95, dividend there 95, consistent dividends, surprise earnings, positive earnings, surprise positive earnings there. So that's cool. 1.87 billion, and here 1.9 billion. Growth all round. Growth stock. Growth. Continued earnings. Continued dividend. Yes, at times there'll be a distinction that you can make where you can say, well, look, it's sort of EBITDA rating is slightly off, or it's earnings per share, it's earnings to share ratio, or the amount of years it might take for you to earn back your thing through just dividend, whatever, right? These sorts of things, whatever, all that sort of stuff. Speculation though, in terms of it's like, obviously you can say that it's had a couple of percent points taken off of the positivity of this most positive upside, but still same, it is what it is until it is what it isn't. And this is the first start of this is the start of it. If we crack up and put in a lower high and then take out this low down here, it means that we're trending down the way, because look, this would be a low. Anything up here which is a lower high, then anything down here gives you that would be, of course, be a downward trend. So this is what we do not want to see happen. I'll just put a note in there so that when I come back in the future, I don't kind of then forget that this is not we don't want to see this. Okay, so as it stands now, we're below the 200 simple. Momentum towards the top side could carry us up higher, and the negative ADX is sloped off. It's kind of the bearishness, the extreme bearishness that was there is gone, or it's back into a manageable position where you're able to say, look, I can manage it, and this is the main question with regards to risk, is whether or not ever it's manageable. And there it is, and that still puts you in for a lower high. Cheers, buddy, for the donation. Thanks so much. And then there was this one. Take a look at EROS. ESGC. Right. ESGC. So here's a stock. Is this the right one, Jimmy? This is the daily time frame. It's been whoosh all the way down here. Nice looking kind of sharp lows. Lots of blood in the streets here. The option here to, of course, try and fail and then come in for a double bottom if it wants to have any sort of thinking about how these things bottom out. Looking back away, massively all-time lows, right? So this is huge knife catching. It's just done a stock split, or it's going to do one, or it's just done 1 to 20. They're kind of negative, the stock splits either way are generally perceived as fairly negative by markets. But got the stochastic just turning around here. Negative cross while in chop with this pattern suggests fuckery, and then movements towards the top side. You got this here, that'd be $5, 286. Right, cool, excellent stuff. So there's like plenty of knife catching opportunities to be had here, ladies and gents. Nice opportunity for the knife catching. Good little RSI sort of trend here. Don't be fooled. You could push down a little bit lower. So there is risk management to be had here. Current price of 358. It's like leaves it quite scary in terms of like the potential movements, right? Okay, so I would manage risk within the range, tight, looking for that gap at least at 394. That's an interesting stock. Here's an interesting stock, folks. It is an interesting one, right? It's an interesting one. You can see that speculation could flood into the markets here off the back of this recent kind of fundamental change, the shape of this, and the negative cross that's still in chop, giving us the potential. But of course, we could still mess around. It's not there. You're not buying into positive trend and price action, and there's targets up above that we could go for. Not done any Fibonacci on this one, and it's always good to do that in most circumstances. This here, just taking it from the gap, so it's not the ideal place for it. I just want to notice where it would be, and it lines up with any sort of breakout, fake out territory, so that's what you'd expect. Cool, right, excellent stuff. What was asked for here, and it was from Spencer. Thank you so much for the 788, man. That's really appreciated. Thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks for everything you're doing. It goes to everybody out there who's watching along right now. Do hit like. I really appreciate it. Everybody being here, spending your time with us, massively appreciated. You're fantastic people. Thanks to everything that you're doing, everyone. Spencer's wondering if I could take a check. Take a look at MULN if I get the chance, and I do. Janine W super chatted me $5 hot off the press. Thanks so much, Janine. That's really appreciated as well. So here, MULN. What is MULN? Mullen Automotive, right? Mullen Automotive. Wolf, jeepers, creepers. Right. So that there is whew. Wow. Have we got some gap flash fill here? I wonder that needed to happen. Would not be surprised if there was if in the back of people's heads throughout this entire time on its run up that there's been some sort of flashes around or something like that. Did that not want to do it? No. Didn't work? No. That did work. It's just not loaded it to the right. It has. I'm on the wrong time frame. 5-minute time frame. What am I looking at here? Right. What was the actual date of that low? Long time ago, April 2020. That's where I wanted to look at. Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna go splitting hairs about stuff like that. Go down to the 1 hour time frame though to take a look back the way and see. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Right, so we've done that. So have we finished this? Have we filled it in yet? Not quite. It's going to happen though, eh? There it is there. Not a shock, not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. Not a surprise at all. So still looking for this to just go a little bit further, I'm afraid. Another 10% off. The lows today, 182. They could be considered conceivably close enough. Absolutely could be. It's a downward trend. It is what it is until it is what it isn't. It remains a downward trend until it is no longer a downward trend, right? The recovery that we've seen so far then, how is that in terms of putting in a local low? Does it constitute a local low? It doesn't constitute a local low. Well, if it doesn't constitute a local low, could we cover it? Could we tell it it's any sort of recovery? We certainly could not. Does it look like from the last peak to this low in terms of Fibonacci, whether it's done anything? Certainly has not. It's miles away from doing any of that. Okay, then what about then if we just drop down to the small term time frames? We take it instead of from being up there at that actual sort of last real obvious peak in the market, we take it from here where we last failed to put in any sort of trend in action, where we put in a high which was higher than the previous lower high but didn't actually result in it being a higher high overall, and as such was ignorable on that larger time frame, and we didn't notice it as being somewhere to draw a Fibonacci in from. Are we above that yet? No, we're not. That comes in at 211. We're a distance away from that just yet, so we could still aim down towards that 174. It's not done yet though, and that's where we are. I've got two downward sloping moving averages on these smaller time frames. Let's look down the way and see in terms of anything right now here. 15-minute time frame, we're actually got the 50 simple moving average up above our heads in terms of resistance from where we are. If we do see continuation and follow through, then of course, like I say, 211 is the point to look to that. I'll be looking up here towards 261 where the 50% 50 moving average comes in at, and of course if we were to get an extension beyond that towards 287, there's probably ways of kind of balancing that out for you to find things that work till such times as we're above, at least in terms of like looking at it on an intraday basis. And today it's Thursday, we're not at the start of the day, we're now into the day already, and Friday's the end of the week, so we don't have massive amounts of 5 minutes candles to appear on this until we've actually got up above this and closed up above them a wee bit. Then they're above that 211 area, then of course we're not there yet. 197, pretty good. $2 is a round number, makes you start to think, but that's where people will come in with a degree of FOMO perhaps, you know, the potential for that. Flicking this from log to linear just to get an idea of what all the sort of stupid money is looking that. Then what do we see here? Yes, this remains as it is until such times as it isn't. This is not a breakout. It's not a breakout as it stands. 3 touches here. Just make it quite clear, really, that we can get them if we want them, that they're there available for us, and that every time in the past that we've thought we've had a breakout recently, it hasn't actually been that satisfying breakout move that you've been looking for really quite yet. So we're still in line for this to continue as it has been doing. Did you catch a knife there? Did you catch a knife there? Did you catch a knife there? Looking back the way, going like this is there's here's bullish divergence, great and everything. Here's bullish divergence, great and everything. Well, let's just kind of be Wells Wilder Jr. about this bullish divergence and say that we're not going to actually start thinking that it's properly there until we've seen it closing above a prior high on a small term time frame. How about we call that 212, 211? How about that? That's a funny number. Keeps getting repeated, does it not? I'll remind everybody one last time, it is what it is until it is what it isn't. And that's that one. Cool, excellent stuff. And another thing printed out just there, Jen Campbell says, we're all chatting about how grateful we are to have found this community, Rocky. Just thought you should know we think you're a legend. Thank you so much, Jen. That's amazing that that's happening. That's amazing. Thank you so much to everybody for the massive amounts of positivity out there. That's so great, Jen. You are wonderful. Thank you so much. Great. Luke Sotos, thank you very much. Appreciated in response to my TA earlier on. Fantastic. Just watch Rocky every day. Merrick Sanders, there's advice for life. Vis-a-vis dos ado. Yeah, I was taking a pic a week of a garden to track my progress. We'll chuck a few up. Oh, that's cool. You've got a garden and you're taking pictures of it. Fantastic. Love that. Put it in the nature part of the Discord, or indeed the hobbies and stuff bit. Right, great, excellent. Spencer said incredible. Thank you so much, Spencer. I'm glad that was incredible. Is there anything that's remaining here that needs to be? Are you asking? No, like I'm saying, I'm asking. Sorry, I'm just, for those watching along, I'm just asking the incredible, illustrious, fantastic, amazing, wonderful, incredible. I'll say it twice. Trader here, technical analyst, trade spotting. If there's anything missing that I should be doing on the show today, necessarily, anything that's popped up in chat or any of that sort of stuff that needs to be covered, I don't think that there really is. Necessarily. I mean, there is, of course. I mean, we could. There's people. Yesterday, there were people asking through like super chats and everything. Take a look at GameStop, for instance. So that's one of the ones that's been like talked about a bit. And there was people, and I started off today's show having a quick look and a quick chat at AMC. So just for those people who are concerned about those sorts of bits of chat and haven't had any follow through on it, here the fun poll that we're having is whether or not we'll hit 16 before we hit 21. Having had highs today of 20.96, 4 cents away, offering you extremely cheap premium on those call options of the opinion. If you were to look to say that you could go to 16 before 21, following off the back of a little bit of fun that we had in a poll in Discord yesterday. Well, we're above the 236, and you can remain extremely positive on it, and that's kind of coming in there about 1928. So those, but then if we do see that the prices crack down below 1928, the next target towards the downside is 1835. The next target down thereafter is 1752. And if you were to go in for a 618 golden pocket retrace from the highs that we've had so far, that would be taking you down to $16. So kind of like the ironic, kind of fun, tongue-in-cheek, kind of technical analyst trader, just a bit of fun poll as we discuss this is to draw our attention to the fact that as a result of coming up as high as but not to 21, it makes it incredibly conceivable that the prices would drop down to 1628. It's a bit of irony and a bit of fun. It's also done in a way to be educational as much as possible, and that's I think for the good of the hood really overall. Dropping down below the below where we were on the 50s in the median line. Let's wait if we're looking for this sort of thing to be as a signal for us in terms of bearishness, as we will see things pushing around as to whether the next time that happens, whether or not we're actually above or below where we were prior to it, say roughly 28 periods earlier as an example. And then here on GameStop, fantastic, will remain bullish. It's been as low as $116 today and as high as $131, poking its head above the parapet there and doing very, 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 very bullish, positive things while it remains within this parallel channel that we've got on the go here. Very, very nice, and that's continued on. This wedge that I was looking at yesterday or the day before yesterday, whenever it was that I was looking at this, didn't play out towards the downside, right? So it didn't come down. Oh wait, shit, sorry. take it back. My technical analysis yesterday was fucking perfect, yet again, excuse my language, as this wedge that we were looking at yesterday did indeed play out towards the downside, bang on. It happened with the wedge in mind, right? Just kind of like, let me just show people real quick. Yesterday, it was a bit of fun, a bit of complex, esoteric stuff, I guess, that comes out whenever you've had a massive amount of experience trading and is nuanced and is not really discernible enough necessarily to put into textbooks or courses about anything. But here it is anyway, and we talked about it yesterday. Wedge here, with that could, a failed wedge becomes a parallel channel. Looking at this 50% area, then therefore for where we might find that there would be a turnaround in it. Now, if this was a cryptocurrency market and open 24/7 and less subject to the sort of manipulations of bigger players, then we would have seen that perfectly play out. Instead, it's a stock, which means that in pre-market you're able to have the markets push themselves around so much that you see this happen here at the exploitation of lower liquidity in order to manipulate the prices towards the downside before rising back up again. There we have it. And what did it do? Well, it lined up perfectly with what we were talking about. Instead of doing it during where it was happened at, the people who were making those decisions waited until most of you were unable to take part in the decision making process in order to put you down there, and quite likely to try and stop out a lot of people who bought long positions and thought to themselves, well, I'll stop out at moves underneath, say for example 120 during the day, only to find out that the market's open back up and they stop out $5 or $10 below where they would have otherwise have stopped out, preventing liquidity to other people's accounts as a result of course, using sensible risk management across a market which has open and closing periods. That's right. That's what happens when you trade only stocks. And of course, this stock is as rifely manipulated as any other out there. It is, and we talk about it during the TA, showing how you can do technical analysis on manipulated stocks, and this is a really perfect example of it. What were you saying? Where's the flash at? There's a flash over here on the left. Yes, that's right. That's down there at $105. Yes, $105. I know, right? What else is like $105 or 106 at the minute? 105, 106. LRC. So here, finish out the day with looking at this LRC 105, 106. What were we talking about? The risks of this up when it was up here at 110, 120, whatever. This is a 5-minute time frame. The risks of the thing dropping down to these lows, very real. Back down to 105, came in and filled in that flash. Did it a couple of times, got more than 4 touches, pushed down, did a little liquidity play here, pushing in a stop hunt, a little bit of a stop hunt, pushing back up. We've still not really made the decisions about the trend as yet. It's not recovered in terms of trending towards the top side. It's not recovered fully in terms of trending towards the top side. It's not broken it in terms of trending towards the downside. Is pretty clear on this one. So we're still in the area of where that's to be exploited, and then kind of zooming on in and seeing to what degree and manner is that to be exploited. And we can see, well, that which satisfies this wedge that we have drawn on the charts on the bigger time frames, the TA, and moves between these two areas are where where you could see things happen. That this is a zone. And beyond that is where you could stop out, and then support coming in here at this area. Great. The wick pushing in and being rejected by it about halfway through that area. Great. Whatever, all perfect. Coming back down for a 236 Fibonacci retrace before the chances of pushing up the way. And then I suppose I'll finish it off here by looking at the worst positive news cryptocurrency merger announcement chart I've seen in the last couple of years of looking at cryptocurrency every single day of last 6 years of looking at it every single day. So we're looking for this to work out where it doesn't turn into an ascending, broadening wedge, and thus have to then, of course, naturally come back down to retest off here, which of what is, of course, stands as its all-time lows. So we don't want to have that happen here, so we want to see this be a bit better. The market makers making the markets on this one, I think, then are exposing their greed on that front by making the markets move in that way, and they should have really gone for a bounce in here at the 270 area instead of allowing the prices to drop to 260 and then 259 thereafter. And as it stands right now, then therefore, if you were to have been looking at it in terms of like just having had a channel on the go here or something else which could have been conceivably positive, you know, in the run-ups towards the sort of the major announcements, and then the increase in the liquidity and the playing in the markets, then people and the encouragement and the acceptance and the pushing for this to be speculated on, and that. And we know that the person that gets exposed most to the machinations of markets are those who are buying into enthusiasm. So combined with enthusiastic news on a person towards a target market which is known to have to be rapidly buy into the good news off the back of companies, etc. That all happened in there, right? And that's cool if you were in a channel, right? It's all cool, you know, it's all fine. Who cares? And then pushing outside of the channel, not so cool anymore. Coming back up and having to retest it, not so cool. The fact that then looks like an ascending broadening wedge, not so cool. We spoke about this the other day, an ascending broadening wedge as a bottom on a stock. Do you remember that? That was yesterday or the day before. Do you remember? Not so good. Doesn't really work as a bottom. Not very good. The fact is that as well, whenever you go looked into to cryptocurrency, market making, that actually you know that this is exactly what companies do, and they go to companies like GSR for crypto market making, reducing the friction between capital and innovation. To cryptocurrency market makers play an important role in increasing the accessibility and liquidity of cryptocurrency to traders, investors, and market participants around the world. Market making is an activity whereby a trader simultaneously provides liquidity to both buyers and sellers in a financial market. Liquidity is the degree to which an asset can be quickly bought or sold without any notably affecting the stability of its price. Our edge has always been our technology. GSR works with leading cryptocurrency projects and cryptocurrency exchanges and presents KPIs that clearly align with and validate our market-making value proposition with each partner. All trade executions are maintained in our proprietary database, and reporting is fully automated and customizable. GSR Markets institutional-grade software suite was built entirely in-house by our developers. You know, this is the type of thing. This is a typical thing that you would look to. Comes up first thing when you search on Google for it. Why? Not because it's some hidden, esoteric, unknown information, but because this is one of the things that happens in markets that provides the way that markets work and has always been accepted and is part of the way that markets work. And the ones that are doing it over here on this one are doing it where this is you know ended up happening. And as far as I can tell, that if you're going to say that it wasn't the market makers that made it push down below this area, what you're saying is that it's market sentiment that made it push down below this area. And if market sentiment made it push down below this area, then that's got a massive that's got all of the contingencies on that market sentiment existed in this push up here whenever we saw the news announcements about it, and then of course with the reactions thereafter. And anyway, everybody's free to play the markets, and at this stage, so what we're looking for is a retest of this potential failure then at $3 round number, with the potential target to come down to 225. A pretty sad start to a cryptocurrency project in the world, but you know, what can you do? What can you do? What you want whenever you're launching a cryptocurrency project, obviously, is to come into a market where, you know, over the period of, say, the last, I don't know, couple of weeks, you've had day-on-day increases in the price of the biggest cryptocurrencies out there. That's generally the conditions that you look to put them into. So if you're talking about market sentiment, that's not the case. And as well, if you're also looking at other sort of ones, you look towards similar partners. Here we have a similar partner over here. We're experiencing this kind of wedge here, but it's not moved outside of it. It's not a broadening wedge, it's tightening wedge. We're looking at this and kind of thinking this is organic price action, and the other one is greatly influenced by sentiment and market makers. There you have it. Prove me wrong. We'd love to hear it. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to the simple, concise, sort of commensurate expose towards the opposite side, which has got positivity in there, because I'd love to read it. And that's that. Now, that's not me being negative at all, in any way whatsoever. I'm not making stuff up. I'm not spreading any fear or doing anything negative at all. Be very clear on that front. It's been a good show, huh? Had a good time with this show. Had a good fun day today so far, I assume. I think so. It's been a good show. I've certainly had a good time with everybody. Huge amounts of positivity in the chat. Huge amounts of good chat from people in here talking, having a good time. maybe even decent stats in terms of like this, all this stuff. Check it out here. Chat rate 2. Well, it's better than 1, and it's infinitely better than 0. So good stuff, right? Playbacks 583. That's pretty good though. You know, I got 200 views on a video that I did yesterday, I think it was, right? Or the day before yesterday. So that's pretty good that we've had that. So, you know, doing good here, doing good stuff. Thanks so much. Good atmosphere out there, brought on, of course, by all of your amazing, all of the amazing community out there. Thank you so much. Great show, says IRM. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the Discord and whatnot after. Colin, thanks for tuning in. Maria, good to see you. Colin, again, said your name twice. Apple, good to see you. Shane, thank you. Trey's put in. Jiu-Jitsu guy, Paula, Kieran, Lisa. By the way, Lisa, fantastic. Love your attitude all the time. You're a great person. Jordan, thanks for being here. Leslie, Jen, Banana Fridge, Paul B, Mango, Sammy, Colton, or Colton. I'm sorry if I get your name with the O wrong. Sky, Merrick Sanders, the most handsome man in chat, apart from with the possible exception of Tainted Shrew. Sammy Yo, Paul B, Aloha Mofos, who is a Scottish expatriate, and it's always great to have her here in the chat. And we've got Kitty's Duo, a Polish American, Polish, Amerykański Polski. Right, thanks so much to all you lovely people for tuning in. Brazil as well, Paula, Brazil, no, Argentina, yeah, Brazil, and stuff. Oh, no, Italian, right. So, good stuff. I remember you all. I love you all. Thanks so much for taking part in what we do here. It's always appreciated. Thanks to everybody. I'll see you again next time. Tune in later for Trey Spotting's show. It'll be good.